What's up, guys and gals? This is Black Boss 91 coming to you with another Attack on Titan chapter commentary, chapter 553, aka Shigeki no Kyojin. The title of the chapter is Faith in His Idiots, and who's his? Levi. Levi idiots. That's the whole group. Now, there's at least three parts to this chapter. The first part being the experimental test of Eden hardening his skin to cover Walt Maria. The second part is between Captain Irving and his longtime friend Errant Nile, and the last part is between Levi's group and the whole abduction between Eden and Historia. Now, let's go back to the first part of the chapter. We see that Eden, he's basically training using his Titan powers, trying to, perform the hardening process. But they notice that he ends up falling over, and he's kind of like most of his body is partly out of the Titan's body, and the Titan, the upper torso, the upper middle torso is formed, but the lower torso is bones. Excuse me. And Hanji is pretty much badgering him, and they notice that he can't get out, so they go down. Hanji jumps down off the ledge to go for him because they're out in the forest slash grass plains to perform this training, and she's trying to take him out, but she notices that his body is hot, very hot, and Mikasa, they don't want anything to happen where he's starting to like merge with the Titan body, so she ends up cutting him out, basically severing both of his arms. He still has part of it, but the lower half of his arms are gone, and they notice that his face is looking more skull-like because more of his flesh is gone. The artist takes a sketch of it, and they bring him back to the secret hideout, and all the guys are noticing, or the lookout people are saying, did anyone follow us or see us? Because with him doing this training, the smoke from the Titan body goes up into the air, and they have suspicion that because the people are looking for Eden and Historia, that people are out like on the outskirts, hiding out, basically watching them. So they always have to be on guard. So they get back to the place. Eden wakes up. He was told what happened. He couldn't realize that he was asleep for an entire day, and they kind of go through what happened with him. Hanji was basically explaining, you've transformed at least 3 times trying to perform the hardened part, but each time he transformed and he failed, he got smaller from going, I guess, to like a 15-meter class Titan to a 13-meter class Titan to a 10-meter class Titan, and which each time he will lose control of his body, of the Titan body. But it all happened through the trigger of his father. He's thought back to his father, and his father was actually holding up the key, the necklace key that he was having, and that's where he started to go berserk, because Hanji wanted to figure out what happened, what created the shift in your mentality as a Titan, and it was his father. I really want them to go into that basement. I understand that the area that they have to go to where Eden lives is Titan infested, but without Eden going into the basement, he won't know how to fully control his powers, because through the experiments, they had him standing up, they had him try to speak. He couldn't speak, but he was able to write, so he took things to write, and he could do everything except for mostly harden and speak. And thinking about his father ended up making him lose control of his powers. And he would rest to transform back, but because he used up so much energy, he got smaller. I'm thinking if he can get smaller by depending on the amount of energy he has, it's possible that he can actually grow even further if he has more knowledge about his Titan abilities. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and he was being kind of like scolded by Levi, and they was wondering, why are you putting so much blame on Eden, But he said, I'm not blaming him. I'm going through a process. I complained to him about what's going on, and I try to work my way. He's like, basically, that's Levi's way of working his way into Eden to kind of get him to do the job. So they figured pretty much that hardening is not possible at this time. They can't cover up the wall. Now with that, he also mentions that because of the smoke, we're gonna get detected a lot easier, and we won't be able to stay within the walls for much longer because he's noticed that the air has like this rotting smell to it, and that he noticed that the walls are slowly decaying because of this rot from the air of corpses of human, mostly of Titans, because the Titans, their bodies emit all this gas and air, or I guess you could say gas more, like, because when body rots, it creates this rottenness. But also when people die, it gets onto the walls too. And he noticed the smell of outside. He said even though he knows it's more hellish in here and it's kind of hellish out there, but it seems there's something better out there further, because they're in the walls, it's all contaminated. But outside the world, it's a lot more. It's just unlimited possibilities. So then we go to Irwin's. We go to Captain Irvin, the second part of the chapter, where he's in a carriage with one of the military police, and he starts to ask him questions about does he know anything about the central military police, or he asks more about the military police, the guys that been that the people that tortured and killed Pastor Nick, and Errant Niles, that's his name. He explains that that's not part of our jurisdiction. That's the military police has nothing to do with that. We guard the people, and we make sure that everything is going well. The central military police, they work they work outside of the law. They're not contained by our restrictions. So they're hired mostly from the church and the inner government. So they could do a lot more stuff. And what they do is more secretive. So there's a lot of underhanding stuff going on with the Central Military Police, which is interesting. I want to find out more about that. They're pretty much like common thugs, organized thugs and thieves and killers. That's pretty much how I see them. Because if they end up torturing and killing a man, there's no telling what this faction of military police is going to do. And plus they're being hired and working with the church, I guess the Reeves family, the government. They're definitely, like, you could say the Black Ops, or like the Black Ops of America, or some kind of higher groups, paying these kind of killer assassins or mercenaries to do their bidding. So that's what they're about. And it was kind of interesting to find out that this guy that we see in the manga and actually in the anime, he's friends with Captain Irwin, and they kind of went different paths, where he joined the military police to kind of stay out of Titan territory and have a life and stuff, and Captain Irwin went more towards the garrison, or like the scouting corps, to kind of like find out more about the Titans and fight for humanity. So they're part of like they're under the same government, but they're part of two different factions and two different paths in the world. And they spoke on this woman that they've go to a bar often, and Captain Irvin said, you chose a life that my people can't go to. We don't have that chance, because what we chose in life is much more darker. Our life expectancy is much shorter, but it's for the greater good of humanity, and you have an easier life. And he tells him he respects him, and he's happy for him for making a family, but the people that he's defending, the people, like, he wants to protect his family, Nile, but the people that he's protecting, like the government and the church and the military, it's not really in the end who he's going to be protecting his family. Because if you look at it this way, the people who run the walls have their own motives, personal goals, or alter not alternative, but whatever they want to do with humanity. They have some things that they want to get done and accomplished, but that might affect many other little people, and those little people can be Niall's family. And pretty much, Niall kind of realized that, and as you know, he tells the guy from the carriage, "I'm going to get out here." He says, "I also like the girl that you're with, Mary. I liked it, Mary too." And Niall said, "I figured that much." So it was kind of interesting to see that. I didn't think they had any kind of relations as like a friendship, whatever. But that was pretty interesting to see. But Niles told him, but you left Mary for the Titans, and he tells Erwin. I love Erwin's comeback to Niles, and he tells him that I thought the Titans were much better than Mary, and walks away. And you just have Niles sitting there just pondering. So everything that Erwin was telling him is the truth. And it boils down to, who you gonna trust? Who you gonna side with? Them or us? Are you gonna side with humanity or the church or the people behind the closed doors? Like, you have to make a choice whether or not are you with us or against us, because if you're not with us, you're pretty much end up hurting yourself. So that's how their conversation ends, and Erwin gets out, and you see him standing in front of the courthouse, or some kind of it looks like a courthouse or a building, the central place where they go to the government. So he's about to have a discussion with them. Then we go to the final part of the chapter where they get a letter from Erwin. No, now that I think about it, Faith in his idiots. It could be either Levi's idiots, Erwin's idiots, or both. Whatever. That's what I was just thinking now, because in this part of the chapter, they Eden's holding this piece of paper, and like you have everybody looking at it, like Armin, Mikasa, Sasha, Coney, Jean, Astoria. Everyone's looking at it, and I think maybe Hanji. I don't know. I think Hanji might have read it or whatever. But they're all in the cabin. And it's nighttime. They read it, and he said, if you believe, this is Erwin's commands. If you all believe in it, then you're idiots. So all idiots follow. Let's leave now. So they end up leaving the cabin, and right after they leave, you have these people in the dark with torches coming to, I guess, either look for Eden and Historia, and Coney was like, "Wow, that could have been us. If we was just sleeping, we could have been going." So I think they might have either burned down the cabin, the central military, because I still think it's the military police or some hired goons doing dirty work, and they're looking for people, and they probably are going to kill people, but no one's there, and pretty much Levi said, "Let's leave now, because the moon is going to shine our way, and we're pretty much lucky." So they end up traveling from night to day, and they go into District Tross, and as they're walking, all these people are noticing them, the common merchants and civilians of that district, and they pretty much see them. They're like, "We don't want you soldiers here." Pretty much the fact that they're paying all these taxes, they have to keep working. If they don't make money, they don't get to eat. They're living low wages, minimum wage, not barely getting by. Just like today, where people have minimum wage jobs, barely getting by, struggling, and it's becoming frustrating on the people. So I can play both sides. I can see where the people are coming from, as far as they're sick and tired of this situation, and they feel like nothing is changing because we're stuck in this endless cycle of just disparity. Something that Erwin talked about with Na, that there's two things, like we have hope and desperation, and that's what the people are feeling. Desperation. They feel like there's no way out, and when they see the soldiers, they get angry because one of the guys said, day in and day out, I know if I don't put an effort or make a conscious decision to make money, for my family, for my business, that's my fault. I can live with that. But for you guys go out there, make no achievements, do nothing, and we have to pay taxes, and they don't seem like they're decreasing at all. It's going to keep getting higher and higher, and you guys get to eat and live free. So I'm pissed off. So all the people are mad. What happens? Levi, he ends up they all encroach on them further, and on the soldier side, what the civilians don't understand is that, yeah, they don't have to pay for anything, because what's the chances of them living long enough to use that money for anything? I mean, let's be real. They have to day in and day out fight titans. They have, one day they live and another day they die. So they don't have to deal with the same kinds of struggles that the regular civilians have to deal with. But let's be real. Are they built for that? Can they do that? Are they man enough or women enough to go out there to fight things that they've never seen before, never experienced, never witnessed? Do they even know or understand the horrors that these men and women go through? They don't. They don't. So on one side, I can see where the civilians are coming from, but at the same time, they're wrong. It's like putting an extra burden on someone because you're feeling a struggle and burden, and people do that all the time. I like what this manga does. It just shows you the true human nature of people. It shows you that through tough times, if you don't have a strong enough will, in fact, not even the fact that you have a strong enough will, if you don't have a good understanding, you'll fall victim to being bitter and contemplating stuff. But still, regardless of that, people in their down times, if they're hurt, they take that hurt on someone else, and people get frustrated all the time. I mean, I know in my life I get frustrated. There's people I know in my life, if things are not going their way in their life and they're going through a struggle, they get frustrated at me. So I can see where that's all going. But the civilians the civilians don't realize that most of these people don't come back. They don't. Some of them don't live. They end up dying. And yeah, you pay for their food, and they have to eat so they can fight these titans. They encroach on Levi, and what happens? All the civilians, they encroach on everyone, and Levi, some guy grabs Levi by the shirt, and he ends up kicking the guy over. He tells him to watch out. That there's this what was it? A horse and carriage comes and runs through the entire crowd, and they end up taking Eden and Historia. And with this happening, they end up capturing them. And I think it was a plan. I don't know. At first, I wasn't thinking it was a plan from the no. It was kind of like a little bit of both. Like, I thought the civilians kind of planned it as far as they knew what was going to happen. I still think it kind of is, but at the same time I don't, because I think some of them might not know. Who knows? It's hard to say. But we see later that the people that were taken wasn't Eden and Historia, because we see back that Eden and Historia are like hiding out in some like place or building or whatever, and they're worrying about who's the people that are being, I guess, held captured. And Eden said that guy does not look like me. He has a horse of a face, and like, I hope they're not being suffered now. That's what the story said, and we know that it's Jean and Armin. I just kind of I guess that because pretty much Jean has always been Eden's double. It's been done before where he's played the role. Back when Eden was going back to the courts, they had swapped places when he's held captive at the courts, and when Armin had to get help from Annie, and Jean kind of like hates that. I feel like Jean and Ed are rivals, where they kind of have like this camaraderie with each other as far as like friends, but at the same time they kind of don't like each other as far as like they have different ideals, and like Jean's always confronting Ed about like, you better do your job because we're depending on you, and Ed is like, this guy doesn't look like me. He looks like a freaking horse. Like, who's this guy? He's an asshole. Like, you know, so they're kind of like rivals in that sense. But still, the guy, he's like a pedophile, or he's like some type kind of pervert that like he's kind of like feeling up on Armin, and Armin's like kind of crying, and it's just like, you know, I just want to feel you. It's like, come on, and it's like disturbing to watch. And at the end, we see Levi, Mikasa, Sasha, and Coney. They're on top of this building, and they're about to, like, you know, go and I guess rescue. They're gonna rescue Armin and Jean, because now they actually find out where they're being held. And Mikasa asks Arwen the question, "Is your ankle? Has your ankle healed? Are you good?" And he said, "You know, I can manage." And that's pretty much the end of the chapter. Now, there's something that I did not address in the chapter before. I'll go back. When Eden was thinking back to his father, he saw this woman with black hair, and she looks, and the woman looked like she was in a luxurious area where she had nice flowing silk hair, a nice clean dress, draped. She has like this huge bed with drapes and nice soft covers and pillows and a good mirror. So this girl looks like she has money, and he's thinking, is this a flashback? Is this a memory? What is this? Like, yeah, it's a flashback. My guess is that I have a couple. It's either a flashback, which I highly doubt. I'm not sure. Another theory I have is either he has this vision that is linked to his father, where like his father somehow has a link. Him and his father has a link with each other, because when he thought about his father, he saw this girl. So that's something like, whatever his father sees, and if he focus in on his father carefully, that he could see whatever his father's seeing, or that he has this connection between him and a girl, him and that girl that he's looking at, because in the chapter you see that the girl seems like she's surprised, like she's looking at him too, like they notice each other. So those are my theories. That's my theory as far as with that happening. Like, he has some kind of connection somewhere. Flashback, vision between father or the girl, who knows? It might be his mother from back in the past. I'm not sure, but those are my guess. What else? Eden, Eden, and some people might think that the double is Sasha, but if you read the chapter a couple of times, that you'll see that it's not Sasha, because Sasha was kind of knocked out the way. Like, it's mostly Armin, because Armin and his story both have blue eyes, they both have blonde hair. It would be, and Armin kind of looks like a girl. He kind of looks girlish or girly, and there has been times where guys have mistaken women and men, like those kind of two, like if you look similar, like, you kind of blur the lines as far as, is it a boy, is it a girl? I know in my time I've seen a guy, he looked like a girl. I called him a girl, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, and then there's times where you see a girl, and there's a guy, and it's really a girl. So those lines can kind of be blurred. The whole rivalry between Jean and Eden. We're getting closer. We're getting closer to what's going to go down. Attack on Titan has been pretty good. Shingeki no Kyojin. I'm looking forward to it. I want to actually purchase the first season. I don't care if it's the Japanese Blu-ray DVD. When I get the money, I'm going to try to get that and possibly do an unboxing. But I'll get that. Well, I'm going to end this short because obviously someone's really calling me and they need my help. So, pretty much very good chapter. It was amazing. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe, and always, this is Black Boss 91 signing out.